It's your boy Charlie Hustle. We are back again with another episode, a continuation of our last episode with Professor Negben on the IAC Lifestyle podcast, Unapologetically Unfiltered. So we've got Professor Negben back, and we're going to go into a few more topics that we couldn't discuss last week, just because the bulk of the information that he's given us, we wanted to make sure we got it in full, so we cut it into two parts. So last week we touched on intellectual property, what it is, how you should view it. We talked about contracts, why you need them, what they are, and also Professor Negben, let me remind you guys what he said. He said the closer the person is to you, the more paper you use. So make sure you keep that in mind as well. We also discussed copyrights, trademarks, what they're used for, the difference in those, but how they also work together in getting you the protection that's needed. So today we're going to go into the second part of it. Like I stated, we're going to talk about licensing, the different types of licensings, why you need them. We're going to discuss quickly samples and covers, the difference in those. We're going to talk about music publishing companies, if you need them, and if so, why you need them and the importance of them. And also we're going to discuss your pros, your performance rights organizations, and he's also going to drop us with some gems and give us some advice for anybody who's looking to get into this industry in whatever facet it may be. So, Professor, if you have something to start off with, go ahead. If not, we can go ahead and jump right into the questions.
But let's go ahead and jump right in.
All right, let's do it. So the first question is, what are the different types of licensing and what are they used for?
Okay. Obviously related to music, a couple major licenses come immediately to mind. The first one, you just earlier mentioned covers. Okay. What's a cover? It's your interpretation of someone else's song. Okay. Can you just go out and do that? No. You need a mechanical license. Mechanical license allows you to make a cover, and in return, you have to pay a mechanical royalty to the author of the song. Okay. Now, right now, that mechanical royalty rate is 12 cents. And by the way, mechanical royalties cover copies. Okay. Not performance. We'll get to performance. But mechanical license allows you to make a cover. In order to do that, you have to pay a mandatory royalty of 12 cents per copy. Okay. Now, so 1,000 copies, that's 120 bucks. Okay.
Got you.
But
Okay.
we're not done yet. There's a second tier. The second tier is 2.31 cents per minute times 12 cents. Okay. And right around 5 to 6 minutes. And by the way, the minutes apply to the length of your cover, not the length of the original. So if you can cram Stairway to Heaven into 3 minutes, that's what you pay, the 3 minutes. Okay.
Got you. Okay.
And then right around between 5 and 6 minutes of a cover, you're going to get bumped into that second tier, the 2.31 cents per minute times 12 equals X. Okay. So a quick little example. You know I love the Beatles, so let's say I want to do a cover of She Loves You. Okay. That's roughly 2.5 minutes long. Let's bump it up to 3. Okay, we're still cool. So we do our analysis. 1,000 copies times 12 equals 120. Okay, we're not done yet. We got to go down to the second level of the analysis. 2.31 cents times 3 minutes. That's the length of my cover. Times 12 cents. And I think you can see where I'm going. 3 minutes. That 2.31 rate results in $70. Okay. Which one do I pay? You pay the higher. Okay.
Okay.
So my 3-minute version times 12 cents equals 120. We're not done yet. Second level of analysis. 3 minutes times 2.31 gets you to right around 7 cents. So it should be kind of obvious now where you're going.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So the 3-minute will cost you $70, and just the regular rate will cost you 120. Which one do you pay? The greater. Okay. So continuing the example, now let's say I get into a jam session and all of a sudden my cover is 6 minutes long. Okay. So do the analysis. First level, 12 cents, 1,000 copies, 120 bucks. But we're not done yet. So we go to the second tier. 2.31 cents times, now it's 6 times 6. That gets you right around 14. Again,
Okay.
you should be able to see where we're going. So my 6-minute version is going to cost 140 bucks. My 3-minute version is going to cost 120. Again, which one do I pay? The higher,
140.
the 140. Now, one big thing about the mechanical license, it's mandatory. And let me emphasize, it is the only license that we'll talk about right now that's mandatory. And a good mnemonic, mandatory, mechanical equals mandatory. M equals M. It is the
Gotcha.
only one. It's the only license that you can do that. Okay.
Okay.
So that's a major license, mechanicals. Okay. Mechanical royalties, and you need to get a mechanical license. Okay. Then the other couple big ones, sync license. When any type of production uses music, they're going to have to get 2 licenses, because if some of our viewers might remember, your viewers might remember, in a recorded piece of music, there are 2 copyrights. There's a copyright in the song that's been there for years, centuries. Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's a copyright in the sound recording, the actual sound wave. Okay. So if you want to use a piece of recorded music in a movie, let's say, okay,
Yeah.
you're going to need 2 licenses. You're going to need a sync license, a synchronization license, and that covers the song. The sync license allows you to sync music
Okay.
with a visual
Okay.
image. So the sync license deals with the song. Okay. But we're not done yet. We still have that second copyright. We need to get permission to use the actual sound recording. That's a master use license. And if you just turn it around, a license to use the master recording. Okay.
Okay.
And so if you want to use, let's use a real life example. A little bit old, but still very illustrative. The Rolling Stones, Microsoft, when they introduced Windows, they wanted to use the Rolling Stones song, Start Me Up. Start Me Up, I'll Never Stop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Microsoft used the actual sound, the actual musical composition,
Okay.
and then Microsoft used the actual sound recording containing Jagger and Richards and all
Yep.
those guys. Okay. So you get a sync license to use the song. You get a master use license to use the actual sound recording. Now, quickly, compared to the mechanical license, remember that's the only one that was mandatory. So
Yep.
sync license And a master use license, they can say no. And if they
Okay.
do say yes, they can charge you whatever they want. So now
Wow.
this is back
Okay.
in the 90s. It's not been officially confirmed, but it's generally accepted. Microsoft had to pay the Rolling Stones, and not the Rolling Stones, the author of the song. So
Okay.
Jagger and Richards, okay, they got that money. And so, and the generally accepted figure is that Microsoft paid $3 million to use the song. Now, again, we're not done. What about the sound recording that
Oh
contains
my.
the song?
Yeah.
That was another $2 to $3 million because they used
Wow.
the actual sound. Now, this is in the 90s.
Yeah.
Now, you know I love the Beatles. I read an article the other day. I haven't gotten some separate confirmation of it, but in that article, the starting price for the Beatles for a sync license, let alone using the recording, is 10 million bucks.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So there's a couple bucks in these sync
Definitely.
licenses.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And those are the big ones, you know,
Okay.
the mechanical license so you can make covers. Oh, we'll get to just to summarize, then we'll get to covers. Not to covers, to sampling.
Sample. Yeah.
And so, mechanical license allows you to make a cover. Sync license allows you to use the music synced up to a visual image. Master use license lets you use the actual sound recording. And then the last one that I was talking about, and my mind just went, what was I going to talk about?
It wasn't samples, was it?
Sampling, right.
Okay.
Sampling. Now, again, we just mentioned there's 2 copyrights in a piece of recorded music. Sampling. What is sampling? As you remember, I used the crane, an
Yep.
analogy to a crane. You are the crane. You reach over to one sound recording containing a song. You take that chunk, you bring it over, and you drop it into your sound
Yep.
recording, a sample. Okay? Can you do that without permission? No. So now for
Gotta
a
have permission for that.
sample, you got to have permission. You can get into big trouble sampling something without permission. And so, with sampling, kind of similar to the sync and master use license, you're going to need 2 sample clearances. They're licenses, but we
Okay.
call them clearances. Okay. And just like a sync license, you're going to have to get a sample clearance to use the song, and you're going to have to get a sample clearance to use the sound recording that contains the song. Okay. And again, it's discretionary. Okay. They can say no. If they
Yep.
do say yes, they can charge you whatever they want. So
Man. So let me ask you
yeah.
real quick. So it's discretionary. So let's say, I'll just say I want to sample something of yours, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can make up like literally whatever you want to charge me. You can make it up. Obviously, I don't have
Yep.
to agree to it, but you can. It's
Correct.
completely up to. Okay, man,
Yep.
that's crazy.
Yep. I can name whatever I want. And
Okay,
if you want to use it, you got to say yes. Because if you
and now
say
does that?
no, then you don't get it.
And is it just like one flat rate? For instance, it's not how with the mechanical license it's X amount per minute or whatever.
Yeah. No,
If
this
you say you're gonna
again,
charge me 10 grand, then it's
this
just a
again
10
is
grand.
simple. This is similar to the sync and master use. They
Okay,
can't say no. I mean, they can say no. If they do say yes, they can charge you whatever they want. Whatever they
got
want.
you.
There's
Okay,
no law limit, or there's no limit under the law or anything like that.
okay. I think that's good for people to know. So make sure you cover your ass if you're getting samples.
Big time. big time. Many people get in, and then they get this other notion that, oh, if I use just a little bit, I'm cool. No. Now, there's a little nuance there. As you might remember, the Sixth Circuit, which contains Tennessee, treats sampling one way, and the Ninth Circuit, which contains California, and by the way, contains us, Arizona.
Arizona. Okay.
In Arizona, where the Ninth Circuit, if you hide it good enough, then you're cool. Now, the Ninth Circuit is just crazy. So that's great. If I get a red Ferrari and I paint it black, and then here's the magic word, the average audience member who doesn't recognize it, you're cool. It's called a de minimis exception. Horse manure.
Okay.
We're on air. You know me in the classroom.
Oh,
I would be using a couple other words right now. Okay. So, well, and so what we were talking about sampling.
Yeah, we're just going through sampling and the cost and all that.
Yeah, and so again, they can say no. One could say yes. One can say no. Now there's workarounds. So the biggest workaround is do a cover. If you don't, you always have to get the rights for the song to use that track in sampling. But you could do your own cover for the master use.
Okay.
But generally, what's the whole point of sampling? You want that chunk with that special, beat.
Yep.
And so you bring it over. Now, you can mess with it. That gets back to these circuits. If you mess with it, the Sixth Circuit, Nashville, by the way, reminder, everything with copyright is fed. So you have to go to a federal district court in Tennessee or whatever the ninth, whatever state in that Sixth Circuit. Anyway, in that circuit, there's an unlicensed sample. They're going to strip it down to the sound wave, the stems right there. They'll take away all of the compression, rarefaction, blah, 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 blah. Okay, they'll strip it all away, and there's your red Ferrari, and you are busted. Okay, they'll remove the paint job, and there's my red Ferrari back. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
That's the Sixth Circuit. In the Ninth Circuit, if nobody recognizes that that red Ferrari, now painted black, is mine, you get to keep it. You're cool.
All right.
Okay. And as I've told you, I don't drink and stuff, but I want to know what the hell they're doing in those chambers over in the Ninth Circuit.
Really though. Really though.
I mean,
that's
some crazy decisions have come out of the Ninth Circuit, as you know. The Led Zeppelin case for infringement. Okay, I think that's a very distinctive opening riff. The chord? Nope. Just a standard riff. Great. I am going to go sample the hell out of Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
If Spirit can't copyright it, neither can Led Zeppelin. So I'm going to sample the hell out of that opening riff.
Yeah.
Because it's not protected by copyright, at least according to the Ninth Circuit, with Stairway to Heaven versus, well, the band Spirit, if you might remember, Randy, California. They toured together. They had rehearsals together. They Jimmy Page and the lead guitar player from Spirit was a guy named Randy, California. They would teach each other riffs. Guess what was one of the riffs that Randy, California shared with Jimmy Page? That opening riff. Okay. Now the court again says that opening riff is not copyrightable because it's common. We're not going to let anybody wrap up, right?
Yeah.
That's horse manure. I can see do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or the chord of A. Okay. The note, fine. We're not going to let somebody, tie up the C chord.
Of
But
course.
this is different. This is
Yeah.
an original, creative expression with a particular original uh, order of, notes that make a distinctive melody.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not a common set piece. Again, that's not do re mi fa or So
Oh yeah.
I disagree with that terribly. That one, but back to I think we were talking about sampling, right?
Sampling. Yep.
As far as I'm concerned, that's in the public domain, and sample the hell out of it.
I
And
got you. So
let Led Zeppelin sue you for copyright infringement. I'm gonna trot out this case and say, "Oh, really?" I would
have
have
you
a
in there real
ball. I would
quick.
have a field day. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, so sampling, they can say yes, they can say no. So you've got
Okay.
some real considerations when you want to sample something.
Okay. So let me ask you this question now. How does one know and I would so let's say you live in Nashville, right? And I still reside
Mm-hmm.
here in Arizona. If I sample
Mm-hmm.
something of yours without your permission and you want to take me to court for infringement, are we going to Sixth Circuit because you live in Nashville, or are we going to the Ninth Circuit because I live in Arizona?
Yeah.
How does one
The
decide
bottom
where?
line, yeah, generally jurisdiction will lie with where the harm occurred.
Okay.
Okay. So if you laid the tracks down, if you did the illegal sampling in Arizona, arguably, remember, all fed, so arguably it would be a Ninth Circuit federal court that you
Okay.
would have that the Nashville people would have to bring their complaint
Case.
here.
Okay.
Okay, that's generally the rule. It has
Yeah.
to the place where the harm occurred will establish the initial jurisdiction. That's not a hard and fast rule. If the organization maybe is based in Nashville, that might give them the basis for jurisdiction and bring you into the Sixth Circuit.
Okay.
So if you sampled, you want to get into the Ninth Circuit because if
Yeah.
they hide it good enough, you're cool. If you were
chances
the
are
one
better, yeah.
who did the sampling, well, if you did the sampling, you want to go into the Ninth Circuit. If you were the one who was sampled, you want to get into the Sixth Circuit.
6. Got you.
Okay.
Okay. Very good to know, just in case if somebody ever runs into
Well,
that
again,
issue.
this federal system, as we talked about, again, can't emphasize this enough. Copyright is all fed. You
Yeah.
do not get it from the state. You do not get it from the common law. Okay. Oh, that still drives me crazy. That was explicitly done away with in the current code. It was
Okay.
in 76. That's still the code that we're operating under. And it was explicitly thrown out.
Okay.
There's no more recognition of the copyright,
Common law copyright
yeah,
or poor man's,
does
as
not
some people
exist.
call it. Okay.
Or what?
Oh no, you're. I was just saying
What
the
was the
poor
other?
man's, as people call it. Oh no, you're good.
Yeah, poor
We're
man's
that answered the
copyright.
questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
poor man's copyright, common law. Yes, both done. Those are synonyms. Gone.
Okay, got you. All right, so let's go ahead and move into our pros, performance rights organizations. So
Mm-hmm.
and if I miss one, go ahead and fill me in. But I've got BMI, ASCAP, CSAC. Is Sound Exchange
That's
a pro?
America. No. No.
Okay.
It tracks. It That's a good question. Is Sound Exchange a pro? Does it come? The bottom line with the pros, ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, they collect performance royalties. Okay. Now, Sound Exchange, and remember, one of the big things of the 76 code was that we got a copyright in the actual sound recording. Okay. Yeah. So Sound Exchange will track those revenue streams. And those revenue streams, Sound Exchange, again, magic little review. When does your copyright come into existence? The minute you fix it in the minute that you fix it, tangible medium of expression. Yep. What's the rub? You can't enforce it until you register. So remember, registration, fixation, as close together so that you squash that bug who's trying to steal your song. Okay? And so, sorry, let me turn that off. Hang on. Let me turn that off. Okay, sorry. What was I saying,
No
Charles?
worries. You were talking about the registration and fixation, getting them as close together as possible.
Right. And then your copyright comes into existence, but you need to register. Okay. Once you get your copyright, then you'll register your song with one of those three, ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC. You can only join one. And your music publisher has to be the same pro as you. So if I'm BMI, my publisher has to be BMI. Now, as you may remember, well, that begs the question, are you telling me, Professor, that Sony Music Publishing, the largest music publisher in the world with over 3 million songs in its catalog, are you telling me that every single one of those artists is ASCAP? Every single one of those artists is BMI because it's 1-to-1? No. What Sony does, Sony Music Publishing, in parentheses, ASCAP, that handles all their ASCAP artists. And then they'll Sony Music Publishing, BMI. That'll cover all their BMI. Okay, because part of a recording deal, everybody should know this, part of a recording deal is you're going to assign your publishing to the record label's publishing division. So Sony has a record division and it has a music publishing division.
Got you. Okay. So now, in your opinion, I was going to ask, in your opinion, would you recommend, or is there, evidence of one being better than the other?
I would just before the turn of the new year, I would have told you explicitly, go to BMI. They're the best. Okay. Not anymore. A big development occurred. ASCAP and BMI were formed way back in the late 30s, early 40s. At the time, the Department of Justice was concerned about antitrust concerns because ASCAP and BMI could conceivably tell what, be a gatekeeper for songs to get out. Okay. And so the DOJ sued them. That resulted in a consent decree. Now, outside the consent decree, ASCAP and BMI, not CSAC, ASCAP and BMI agreed to run as not-for-profits. Okay, cool. Just in the last 2 months, BMI voluntarily stepped out of that not-for-profit status and adopted a for-profit status, and they were bought out by a capital firm for about $2.2 billion. Okay, that's great for them, for BMI. What about the members? I have heard at least 100 million to as much as 200 million of that 2 billion. So what, maybe between 5 and 10%, that will go directly to their artist. The concern, though, is that as a for-profit company, what's their main motivation now? Make a
To make
profit,
money. Yep.
you know, and they can do outside activities. So what if they invest in a venue? Okay, the venue goes under. BMI loses money. What does that do to my royalties?
They're probably going to
Do
try and
I
dip in
lose
there.
royalties because
Yep.
BMI lost royalties,
Mm.
lost money? So right now we're in a real gray situation. I would hesitate to tell any of my clients to sign with BMI because we just don't know.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you point blank, if anybody ever tells you, I know exactly what's going on, you go, great. Thank you very much. See you around. I've been in this business for 40 years. I'm still learning stuff,
Yeah. For
So
sure.
nobody knows everything. Just doesn't happen. And this in particular is just nobody knows. How are they
Yeah.
going to operate? Again, are they going to invest in a venue? Are they going to invest in some apartment building? Right? Are they going to buy land in Florida
Yeah.
with my royalties? So that's
Okay.
a big development. And so anyway, ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, they cover performance royalties, and then Sound Exchange covers royalties that come from the sound recording. Okay.
Okay.
The
Okay.
sound recording, the initial copyright in the sound recording is in PEP, the producer, the engineer, and the performer. And by the way, this gets messed up a lot because, and I just had this happen with a client, they recorded her, they videotaped her, did a podcast, did a photo shoot, all of it without any paper. Now, if you remember, Charles, what's my saying about paper?
Always get it on
You
paper, and
will
the closer they are
never
to you,
again.
more paper.
That's the other thing. Okay, the bottom line though, you will never do anything without a piece of paper ever again. And then, yes, the closer that best friends, paper, brother and sister, more paper, mother and father, the most paper. What? My parents? I know
Yes.
it's very rare in the entertainment industry, but it has been known that parents steal money from their children. Come on, it happens. Oh, it's been, we don't even, there's too many cases to count to show
Yeah.
how parents have ripped off their kids.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
so that's a big one. But anyway, so ASCAP those will cover performance of like radio, extraterrestrial, and then Sound Exchange will track royalties for the producer, the
Okay.
engineer, and the performer. For the first time in history, those three got something from copyright. Normally, the producer gets a fee from the record company, does his work, and off he goes.
Yeah.
Engineer, normally he does his work, gets paid, off he goes. Performer, he or she does their work, off they go. All three of those have a piece of paper that within it says all the work you're going to do is going to be called a work for hire. A fancy way of saying they're going to pay me, I'm going to do the work, but they own it. They are the copyright owner. Okay. So
Gotcha.
with the sound recording, the original is in PEP. What does the record label do? work for hire with those three, and that gets that sound recording into the hands of the record label. Okay?
Man,
And
okay.
if they don't do it, back to my client, they did all these things without any paper. They started using them. My client didn't like the way that they were using them. And she said, take it down. They said, tough. Well, tough for them.
Yeah.
I sent them a very simple letter. Listen, if you want the rights for this, you needed to do a work for hire. You did not. The barn, the horse is out of the barn. If you want to use my client's stuff, it's going to cost you X amount of bucks. Well, they didn't
Okay.
have it, so guess what happened? They had to
Take it
dump
down.
all that material. They couldn't
Wow.
use it.
Wow.
Yep.
Get that paper. Got to get
So
that
that's
paper signed.
why over there, I'm telling you, what's one of the first things I tell you on the first day? Probably in your notes. You will never
Yeah.
again do anything without a piece of paper. So that's a biggie to me. Get a contract, get a piece of paper.
Okay. Got you. Okay, cool. So, and CSAC is overseas or are they in the States?
Well, they're here.
Okay.
They started overseas, but quickly had an American branch. But CSAC came from theater. Okay.
Okay.
It was to protect the theater creators.
Got you. Okay.
And again, yeah, Europe. Oh, what does CSAC mean? The Society of European
And they're
Songwriters,
invite
whatever.
only, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
CSAC is in a unique position. So ASCAP, BMI, certain restrictions. CSAC, none. They can be for profit. They can say no. That's another big deal. ASCAP and BMI must take you. CSAC, it's like you mentioned, invite only. And
Okay.
so there's 1 million members of ASCAP. There's 1 million members. Not seriously. I'm not just, literally. There's 1 million members of ASCAP. There's 1 million members of BMI. And then there's under 50,000 members of
Wow.
CSAC.
Okay.
Okay. And again, they don't want to mess around with Steve Negben with my 2 or 3 songs. And here's who's on there: Adele, Sting,
Okay.
Bob Dylan, those guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So CSAC is the best, but it's very hard to get in.
Okay.
You've got to have a pretty significant catalog for them to invite you
Okay.
in.
All right. So now let's move into music publishing companies. If they're necessary, what they do, why do we need one, all the good stuff.
hmm Well, a music publisher is very valuable if, and I emphasize if, they work it.
Okay.
So many music publishers, they get the song, put it off to the side, and then, okay, whatever. Your song sits on the shelf for 10 years. So, first and foremost, try and find, an effective music publisher. If you do, it's well worth it because they can maximize those various revenue streams. So a good music publisher is very important, is a big deal. Now, a record label deal, okay? The Ninth Circle of Hell, from Dante, okay? The Divine Comedy, he takes you through hell, purgatory, and up to heaven. Hell, it's 9 circles. The ninth circle is the absolute pit. That's the worst of the worst. Well, record label deals and record label executives are in the ninth circle of hell. Oh, horrible. Back to publishing, one of the record label aspects will be you assign your publishing to the publishing arm of the record label. Okay. Well, now we're starting to move away from that. Not so much starting. It's now been a pretty
consistent.
consistent,
People are moving
thing.
away. Okay.
Right. Form your own music publishing company and then just get somebody to administer it. So
Okay.
go to Sony. I've got my publishing company, but I want you to administer it for me. And generally, they'll only take 25% as compared to the normal split between the publisher and the songwriter is 50-50.
Okay.
But if you just let them take care of the publishing and stuff like, or the administrative, the
Admin.
paperwork, right?
Okay.
Then you can get, and now that puts some pressure on you to exploit the song.
Yeah.
So, a good person right here in Arizona is Les Scott, and he has
Okay.
Boutique Q, and he's a very, very respected musical supervisor and music publisher. And he would be a great person to go and talk to or to have on the podcast that could talk about, again, some of the deeper nuances of music publishing.
Okay. And you said Les Scott?
Mm-hmm. Les,
Okay.
and then Scott, Les Scott.
Okay. That's good to know. I'll definitely reach out to him. But yeah, no, I think especially if somebody doesn't know about, because I was trying to set up a music publishing company, like because I'm with BMI, and so they have you can register as an artist
Mm-hmm.
and you
And
can register as a
mm-hmm.
publisher. I mean, they charge obviously for that, so I didn't have the money at the time, but then I'm like, I wouldn't even know where to begin if I was trying to run my own music publishing company. So it might be something for somebody who's less knowledgeable to get it started, but then like you said, have somebody else handle all the admin and the paperwork stuff, at least in that aspect, until they can get more familiar, if they know somebody like you said
Yes.
who's more familiar with it, to help them out.
Yeah.
That's definitely something that's good information for myself as well. So for everybody watching and listening, there's some more game for you guys if you're interested in a music publishing company but don't know where to begin.
Absolutely.
All right, so that pretty much sums up, the bulk of the content, the questions and the topics that we're going to cover. So the last question that I have is, do you have any advice for anyone who's looking to get into the entertainment industry in whatever facet it may be? Advice based off of your experiences,
Mm-hmm.
experience of your clients, or just general advice for somebody who's
Mm-hmm.
looking to get into the industry.
The biggest thing is be prepared to hear the word no. That's the biggest thing. Because many, you've got the next Sergeant Pepper. The guy across the desk doesn't think so. No.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the biggest thing. You got to get a thick skin. I think, again, from school, you had Jason, right? Jason Lerner at the end
Yeah.
of the, okay,
At
and
the
he
end of the
told
cycle,
you,
yeah.
kind of the who, what, when, and
Oh
where.
yeah.
And I think one of the first things he says is get a thick skin,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Okay. The next big thing that I have found is, well, I call it my kind of marketing mantra, if you will. 3 things. First, I hate to I got to think of something better, but anyway, I'm Typhoid Mary. I've got to infect you with the passion of my project. Okay.
Gotcha.
So I've got to get that passion out.
Yeah.
Number 2, pebbles in a pond. You never know who you're talking to who might turn out to be that special pebble.
Oh
And
yeah.
so it go, because even one pebble, multiple ripples go out, right? Just from one. And who knows what, bank, what riverbank that
Yeah.
ripple is going to, you know, wash ashore on.
Exactly.
So even just one, but so consequently, the more, the better. The more ripples that go out, the better. So, Typhoid Mary, infect you with my passion. How do I get that passion out? Pebbles in a pond. Get it to anybody and everybody. Okay. And then the last one, 6 degrees of separation. If
Oh yeah.
you want to get to Rick Rubin, you know a string of people to get to him. I think many of people have heard that theory, the 6 degrees of
Oh
separation,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
And I believe in that. If I wanted to get to whoever, now some people, I have a very, very close relationship. You might remember I gave Jack Black his New York theatrical debut, so I'm
Yep.
1 degree from Jack.
Yeah.
I'm 3 degrees from Steven Spielberg. We went to high school
Oh
together.
wow. Okay.
And so then, and then Rick Rubin would be 6. I would
Gotcha.
need to talk to a couple people to get to
Yeah,
him.
to get to him. Okay.
So
No, I
those
like
3
that.
things. I got to infect you with my passion. How do I do that? Pebbles in a pond. I talk to anybody and everybody.
Yep.
Okay. Whether they can or can't, you never know. I have talked to
Exactly.
guys that were in the auto business. But hey, show business is sexy. It's a lot more fun than selling a car,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. So I've had a couple partners that came from the car dealership world.
Very nice.
Yeah. So
Very
you
nice.
never know.
So
You
you
just
never know. That's
never
so
know.
true. So
So
now,
that would be my first thing is, man,
okay.
just everybody, you know. Well, that would be my second thing. First, be prepared for no.
Yeah.
Second, get it out there, right? And then it's just a little bit of a, waiting game.
Oh yeah. And just to piggyback on what you said about the pebbles in the pond,
Mm-hmm.
and you never know who you're gonna meet, right? So my mom told me this story, and I thought it was huge. So my mom, when I was growing up, my mom was a comedian. I always she doesn't say this, but I say her claim to fame was opening for Colin Quinn, and
Oh, very
she
cool.
brushes it off as nothing major. But so while she was trying to build up her comedic career, she was working at Jack in the Box, and she told me one night that she was sweeping the dining room, and some guy walked in, and in her head she was like, oh my gosh, he sees the sign, we're closed, like why did he come in here? But realizing that she forgot to lock the door, and so she was like, you know what, I'm just gonna let him come in, let him eat. I forgot to lock the door, so it's my fault, whatever. So she goes on to tell me that her and this man started making small talk, and she's telling him that she's a writer and that she's trying to get her comedy career going, and he's telling her, oh well, I own this comedy club on the other side of town, you should come and perform. And she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was almost rude to this man, not knowing that that is an opportunity. And so, of course, and I tell people all the time when I tell this story, you never go into a relationship just wanting something, or being nice to people just for that reason. But again, you genuinely just be nice to people because you never know
You
who's going to be
never
able to
know.
help you out and who can give you an opportunity. And so I always tell that story when I'm talking to people, because it's like, it's so true. Like, you just never know who somebody is, or how they can help you. And so if you're just genuinely nice to people, it can open up so many other doors that you never would have dreamed of walking through.
It does. You get a lot more bees with sugar than with vinegar,
Oh yeah,
you know?
definitely.
So,
Definitely. All right, well, Professor, so now we're going to jump into the rapid fire. This is something that we've been doing at the end of every episode with all of our guests, just to keep things light and interesting, and to let our listeners and viewers get to know them a little bit better. So I'm just gonna to read a question, and you just answer it, first thing that comes to mind, or whatever the case is. So
okay.
the first question is, do you have a nickname?
Uh, there's a couple that I can't say on there. Most people, well, a lot of people now address me as professor,
Yeah.
because I've been teaching for a long time. My classic nickname has been for all of us Nebkins is Neb.
Okay.
So all my high school friends, all my older friends, oh, Neb's here. Neb's coming.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. So professor to everybody else, though. To
Right.
all of us. All right. So describe yourself in 3 words.
Ooh. Well, 3 words. Passionate about art.
Okay. Very nice.
Money doesn't
Art,
crank me. I want to make money because it's useful, but I
of
don't want to
course.
die with $1 billion in the bank. That's not.
Got you.
That doesn't crank me. If I had $1
Okay.
billion, I'd keep a little bit for myself, and 99% of it I would give away
Very
and
nice.
help people with their projects.
Definitely. All right. 3 items on your bucket list.
Go to Germany, which is where I'm from, or my family.
Okay.
Well, I'd love to go to London or England. I'd love
Okay.
to. I'd love to go to Liverpool, and then I'd love to see Abbey Road. So
Very nice.
I'd love to go to, and then of course, with my literature background, I'd love to go where Stratford upon Avon, with
Okay.
Shakespeare,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So Germany, England, well, and then I guess I might have to say Italy. I'd love to see
Okay.
Florence in particular.
Yeah.
That was kind of the heart of the Renaissance. So that would be 3 things on my bucket list. I
Very
just
nice.
fulfilled one of my dreams. My
Okay. And it
children
was
bought me a Porsche.
nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So
What
that
year,
was a
make, and
hell of
model?
a Porsche Macan, the Macan S,
Okay.
kind of like the SUV. And
Got
I
you. Oh,
love it.
okay. Very
I love it.
nice.
I drove the 911. I drove the Cayman. I drove the Panamera. Panamera. At the time, I had a Genesis, so I didn't want to get 2 um, sedans.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and boy, am I happy. I think it's been
I'm,
perfect. It drives like a Porsche, and it's useful. I could
yeah.
put things in the back. So I that
Very
so that
nice.
was one off the bucket, and
Good.
it's thanks to my
Congratulations.
children. It's thanks to
Shout
my
out the
children.
children. Shout out the kids.
That's right, Austin and Lindsay, love you.
All right. So let's go with your favorite quote.
Ooh, God, I've truly got so many. Man, that's a good one. I'd have to think about that one for a while. My
Okay.
favorite quote. Well, it's not a quote. It's a tombstone,
Okay.
and tied in with money doesn't crank me. I don't want my tombstone to read. He had 10 houses. He had 10
Got you.
cars. He made $1 billion. I want my tombstone to be Negben. He wrote Theodore, right?
Okay.
The basis of that is the great painter from the Renaissance, Raphael.
Mm-hmm.
Raphael's tombstone, all it says is, "Here lies Raphael." That's it.
That's
People
it.
knew. People
Yeah.
knew, you
Okay.
know. So,
Okay.
um, so
So let's do this
again,
then. If you want to think about a quote, email it to me, and then once I post this, I'll pin it and I'll put it in the description.
okay,
And just hey, FYI, this is his favorite quote. So this way, people they have
okay.
what
I
the
guess one that
tombstone, but
comes to
also your
mind right off
favorite
the
quote.
bat is the philosopher Nietzsche. What's that?
Okay. Oh no! I was just saying okay. Could you say the
So,
philosopher?
well, the one that came to mind just now was the philosopher Nietzsche. Yeah, and he's famous as saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger," and that
Yeah.
that resonates with me. I've gone through some really tough. I've lost my wife.
Yeah.
My son had leukemia, but I'm still standing, and they are still. Now, my wife
Oh
passed,
yeah.
and that's been a big blow. I never got remarried. She was the one, you know. I hate to use soulmate. I think that's pretty cheesy, but she was the one. She was my partner,
Yeah.
and I miss her greatly. It's 20 years. I still think of her every day.
Yeah. I'm sure. I can only imagine. But like you said, yeah, you're pushing through and you're doing the best you can. So I think that's what's most important. After dealing with any type of issue,
Hmm.
continuing is huge. So kudos for that.
Thanks.
So, so now, what is your definition of success?
Leaving a mark in history,
Okay.
doing something that helped improve the human or commented on the human condition. So again, my children's book, that's what I want to be remembered for. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Again, not the fact that I made $10 billion or whatever. That doesn't crank me at all. Do I wish I had a little bit more money than I do? Of course, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, going nuts to build your bank account. Nah.
Yeah. Not good.
My biggest thing is that I would like to be known as a person who helped young artists get a proper start in their career. Because again, as you might remember, I started producing when I was 19,
Yeah.
and I did everything wrong, everything that I tell you guys not to do.
Yeah.
I did it. Copyright? What the hell is that? Contracts? Who needs that? The rights for the play I did, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? The rights for the play? Who needs that? What? Who cares? Took money, no securities documents, no nothing. I'm lucky we're in Arizona. I'm lucky that I'm not in Florence. You know what I mean? The prison, right?
Yeah.
I'm lucky. So that's my biggest motivation is to make sure you guys get off on a good, solid foundation in this business. It's a tough business to begin with, and
Yeah.
let alone if you get off on the wrong foot, you're done,
Oh yeah.
you know?
Oh
So
yeah.
that's my big thing, right?
Okay. Very
Mine
nice.
was Stephen Wade Nebgen, author, professor, attorney. That would be what I'd like.
Got you. All right. So what is your favorite genre of music?
Well, for my generation, classic rock,
Okay.
the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Now,
Okay.
modern, I love, and they've been around for a while. Death Cab for Cutie, who are some of the other bands. You guys have turned me on to so much. Bon Iver. Uh, I had known about Billie Eilish, but got deeper into it when I started getting around you guys.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say, well, I have Sirius, so I have the Beatles channel on my favorites, and then I have classic vinyl and,
Okay.
classic rewind. So again, classic rock for me is
Okay.
my sweet spot.
Got you.
I like
Okay.
some rap. I like Mac Miller.
Okay.
Unfortunately, R.I.P. I like
Yep.
uh, and then country western. Of course, I like Dolly.
Yeah.
And by the way, did you see that Beyonce
Yep.
topped the country charts this week? Beyonce? What the
Yeah.
hell? Darn, darn,
Saw
darn,
that.
darn. Can you imagine? You know. So, but yeah, my sweet spot would be alt rock.
Okay, very nice. And so the last question, and again, this is a new one that we are starting to incorporate, just so I think it's a little more personal, which I appreciate. And I think you answered it, but I'm going to ask it anyways in this form. But what is the one thing you want to be remembered for?
Well, create my big thing. What it really is big is Theodore.
Okay.
In this day and age, Theodore, the whole point of this, it's a series of books. The first one, well, the overarching project is Theodore's Journey, and it's going to be a series of books. And the initial is Theodore's Plate. That's set at Christmas time. And anyway, in each one of the books, there's a kernel of a key virtue. In
Okay.
Theodore's plate, it's a small act of generosity when they take this traveler in from the storm, feed him, give him lodging. Next morning he goes off. Well, it turns out that the traveler was King Edward, the
Oh
king
wow.
of the
Okay.
kingdom. They didn't
Yeah.
know. They just instinctively showed him generosity. And he goes to the other king that he's supposed to meet. They have peace. He comes back to his castle and the town, the village, and says, "We've got peace, but I want you all. I can't forget this family that helped." So at the end of the meal, the family is so poor that they don't have any gifts. So what they do is they describe the gift that they would like. The
Okay.
traveler slash king hears this, goes to his meeting, goes back to the castle, and he tells the villagers, "Go through my castle and get ding, 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 all the things that the family wanted."
Nice. Okay.
Gathers it all up, and then the king and the villagers go to celebrate Christmas Day with the family in the forest.
Very
So,
nice.
so that's the first one, and then each one after that will have a kernel of a key virtue. So the first,
Okay.
generosity. The big present that Theodore wants is a falcon. The king gives him a falcon. Book number 2, the core virtue, patience. Theodore wants to start playing with the falcon right away. And the falcon goes, "Come over here, buddy. Come here, kid. These aren't toys. This bird can kill you."
Yeah.
So it's patience. He has to learn how to train under the guidance of the falconer, the king's falconer. Now, the
Okay.
falconer happens to be a Moor, Muslim. Okay. So we start to bring a little bit of inclusion,
Okay.
and, different people of different religions don't necessarily have to be antagonistic to each other,
Yeah.
you know. But again, so the falconer teaches Theodore patience. Okay. You just don't fall out of bed and start playing with a falcon.
Of course. Yeah.
All right. And then the third book, they enter the falcon. The falcon's name is Victor. They enter him in a contest. In the first contest, Victor loses. Theodore is very upset, but the core kernel, perseverance. They train some more. Second contest, Victor wins. Okay.
Very nice.
And so we kind of keep going. And so each one of the stories, again, has this kernel of virtue, a special virtue in each one that kind of gets drawn out through the action of the story. So
Okay.
what do I want to be remembered for? Theodore.
Very nice. No, I like that. That's a cool series. I'll have to check it out personally. I know I showed Micah the cover art of the book. But we'll
Hmm.
definitely have to see about getting our hands on a copy so we can check it out for sure.
Yeah, great. I can get you one.
Perfect. All right. Well, Professor, that will conclude this episode. But before we say our goodbyes, I just want to let all our viewers and listeners know that not only does he know about all these topics we discussed, copyrights, intellectual property, trademarks, he can help out in those areas, but he can also help out in setting up LLCs, restructuring LLCs. He'll get you guys your contracts, your operating agreements, all the things you need to set the foundation for your business on paper to make sure that as you grow and as you have dealings with people, you're covered, you're protected, you're taken care of. So I'm going to pass it to him and let him give you his contact info so you can reach out should you have any questions or need any help. And don't forget, Crafts Kids, you guys do get a discount for being students. But Professor, if you want to shoot your contact info, go ahead so they can get that from you.
Okay. Is there a way to put it in, or do I just remark?
You can say it, and then what I'll do is, again, once I
Okay.
post, I can put it in the description as well.
Okay. So, first of all, Stephen Wade Nebgen. So, the law offices of Stephen Wade Nebgen, PLLC. My website, www.azentertainmentlaw.com. I know a mouthful, but if you say it, you kind of get it. www.azentertainmentlaw.com. My email, snebgen, SNEBGEN, at azentertainmentlaw.com. Okay, and then phone number 480-215-6305.
Perfect. Awesome. So there's his contact info. Again, please reach out to him should you guys have any questions, need any help. He is more than willing, and I can definitely vouch for him as he's done some work for us and getting us set up and make sure that we're set up for success as well. So that being said, we're going to conclude this episode. Again, Professor, we thank you for your
No,
time
it
and all
says
your
a couple
knowledge.
people.
But so with that being said, Professor, we thank you for your time and all the gems you dropped. And Charlie Hustle, Professor, we're out of here. We're good.
I love it. Thanks, Shirley.
Of course. Take care.
Okay, stay safe.
You as well.
Okay.